Also, we've got the story, trade season began with the Dennis Schroeder deal. And then inevitably we're going to start getting rumors out. Last week we covered how the agent for Jimmy Butler and Shams were in a public spat of sorts. And then we're starting to get more things leak out. And then this weekend we get, hey, all the Pelicans are available except for, except for Missy and Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. And it's like, oh, gosh. Okay. All right. Herb Jones. So don't call about them. Don't call about Missy.
Yeah, Eve Missy. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't call about Missy.
But if you want Zion, go ahead.
All right. Zion, Ingram, McCollum. If we're trying to rank, I actually think this is hard. Which is the easiest one to move?
McCollum. I think Ingram is the most valuable.
McCollum's contract stinks too.
But he's not playing. He's not playing bad. He's getting 21 points a game. I like him. I could see him being a contributor, but you mentioned the contract. It's just so hard with this whole first apron, second apron, hard cap, match the salaries. You can't. He just signed extensions, so you can't deal him. With all of the constraints that they put on trades now, it's so hard to get something done, and I don't see it. There's no sort of natural dancing partner for the Pelicans for these trades.
Yeah, and it's what is it? $33 million this year, $30.6 million next year. That's the McCollum thing. I think honestly, I think we've all expected that Ingram's going to go somewhere at some point. That's not going to be a long-term thing. They're not. If they were going to sign up for Brandon Ingram long-term, if they were going to get, and I know they say he's turned down exorbitant amount of money. So they have offered him big money in the past, of which he has turned down. And so just given the future and that if they're not going to be the ones that are spending $200 million or whatever it's going to be for Brandon Ingram, then we figured he's got to find a landing place. And we thought it was going to happen in the offseason. I guess the Zion thing is the interesting one because...
Is it?
Because the expectation was, I think, with the CJ McCollum, you could see happening. And with Ingram, you could for sure see happening. But, I think it's the moment where it's okay, they are ready to get out of the Zion business. I don't think that we have gotten a, true report on we're ready to get out of the Zion business.
Who's ready to get into the Zion business?
Well, that's the question.
What is the market for Zion Williamson right now? What is it? He's not playing. His contract is huge.
People will always convince themselves of talent.
No.
They will.
What team? What team wants Zion Williamson?
People will always convince themselves of talent. Thus, Ben Simmons just stopped playing basketball and somebody traded for him. He just stopped. He just didn't show up to work. He just stopped playing.
Do you know he hasn't hit a shot outside the paint since February of 2023? I saw that somewhere online. Seriously, a professional basketball player, on a max deal, hasn't hit a shot outside the paint. He's not 7'6".
Oh, you mean in a game? Because every summer I see the videos. He has. You mean in a sanctioned game?
In a sanctioned game, yes. Okay. That's what I mean.
On Instagram, he's 20 for 20 from three.
Lighten it up.
He never misses on Instagram. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe Ben Simmons just needs to play games on Instagram.
Trade Ben Simmons for Zion Williamson. Go ahead. Do it.
Not your craziest idea. No. But I think there's somebody that's always willing. There's somebody always willing to bank on the talent. And look, there is somebody out there that's going to convince themselves it's New Orleans' fault. We get him out of that environment. Mm-hmm. We get him on a diet. We get him in a good culture. We get him in. And again, I think that might be total foolishness. I think you agree.
Yes.
That might be nonsense. But there will be somebody that convinces themselves If I get him out of there, I'm going to be able. He is still young, and if I could ever get him to when he grows up, and if we ever can get him in the best shape with the best sports science people, what you can't do is replicate that talent. And if I can get him right, it's worth the gamble. If I have a 1 in 5 chance, and maybe it's a longer odds than that to be able to.
Hurt in high school, hurt in college, hurt in summer league, hurt in his rookie year. Mm-hmm. I mean, but when you said earlier this season, you said you're like, I'm out on Zion Williamson, and once you said that, I started thinking about it, and I'm there too. If I'm running an NBA team, I don't even entertain the idea of trading for Zion Williamson.
Well, because the hard part is this: what we all forget is that he played all of last season. He did. He played
until the end,
and he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't. Nobody was sitting there talking about he was nowhere near an all-star snub or anything, and he wasn't even sniffing an all-NBA or anything. And so he did play last season. He did play. And it wasn't some kind of like spectacular, I think prior to last season, virtually every time we had seen him on the floor, he was great. It was really just the injuries that held him back. And I mean, even if you look at his numbers right now, he's still mega productive.
He is. He's
productive.
When
he plays, he is.
I remember peak Zion was probably like the Stan Van years when they were like, he's running the point and pick and rolls.
Well, and
he's on a roll.
And I was starting to believe, look, when he went out last year, in that play-in game, I mean, he was an absolute force of nature in that game.
Yeah.
And it was like such a moment. It was so indicative of his career. It was such a microcosm, which is, oh my God, look at this force of nature. He's the best player on the floor.
Future of the league.
In a game that includes LeBron James and Anthony Davis, this guy's the most dominant guy. And then he blows out his leg again, and it's like, Jesus.